There's this lovely line in the Bhagavad Gita, Karmanyavadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. It's all of us know that line. It means, you have a right to your karma, but not to the fruits of your karma.
Right.
And many Indians, modern Indians, wrongly interpret this line to mean that you should be fatalist. Who cares about success, failure? Everything's in God's hand. That's not what actually I suspect. I don't think that's what Lord Krishna was trying to say. What he was trying to say is if you're detached from success or failure, you just enjoy the game, you just enjoy playing, then in a way you're unstoppable, right? Because failure can stop you because it fills demotivation in your heart. Success is often more dangerous because it fills pride in your head.
Hi and welcome to Bookish Santa's YouTube channel. I'm Kinjal Parikh and today we are going to invite Amish Tripathi, the author who needs no introduction, to discuss about his writing journey at great lengths from raw to real. This interview interaction has been very fun, insightful and engaging, and I'm very sure that you are going to enjoy this video as well. In the description box below, you will find all the timestamps chapter-wise so that you can skip to the questions that you want to listen first. Now, before we start with this interview round, don't forget to leave a like, share and subscribe to Bookish Santa's YouTube channel. Before we start, congratulations on your most recent book, The War of Lanka. Absolutely a brilliant work. Also, the book launch, it was so grand, so magnificent. I have never attended any such book launch.
Okay, let's start.
Perfect. Okay. I'm sure you remember your writing journey when you first started writing your first book. If I'm not wrong, you started as a self-published author, right? Your first book was a self-published one. So how was the journey? What motivated you to take that route? And I'm very sure there might be challenges, confusions when you first decided to take the step.
Look, I just made a virtue out of necessity. I had to self-publish because every publisher had rejected my book. So I had no choice. My first book was rejected by every publisher it was sent to. I stopped counting at 20 rejections. So I was very clear that, look, I'm going to try my best. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least the book shouldn't die in my laptop. So I self-published the book. And promoted it myself. My agent invested in the printing. I invested in all the marketing, which was of course a bigger investment. Both of us worked in partnership. The book took off in the first week itself, Lord Shiva's blessings. And a few months later, by which time it had apparently already become the biggest hit of the year. This is 2010. Then many of the publishers who had rejected the book came back to bid for it. So if there's one lesson I've drawn from my journey is that if others don't back you, the hell with it, back yourself. And at least try your luck. Look, it's like this. The success is never guaranteed, right? For all, I could have maybe self-published that book and maybe it would have been a flop. Who knows? But when you're at 75, 80 and you're evaluating your life, you're not going to regret the things that you tried and failed in. I'm 48. Trust me, I've seen more of life. You will actually regret the things that you didn't even try, right? Because the only way to lose in a guaranteed manner is to not even play the game. Correct. Play the game. Sometimes you may lose sometimes, but you win also sometimes, no?
You need to take the first step. You need to
take the first step,
believe in yourself to know what happens.
Yeah, and play the game, right? You have to be detached from success or failure in some ways. I know it's not easy to do, but there's this lovely line in the Bhagavad Gita, Karmanyavadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. It's all of us know that line. It means, you have a right to your karma, but not to the fruits of your karma.
Right.
And many Indians, modern Indians, wrongly interpret this line to mean that you should be fatalist. Who cares about success, failure? Everything's in God's hand. That's not what actually I suspect. I don't think that's what Lord Krishna was trying to say. What he was trying to say is if you're detached from success or failure, you just enjoy the game, you just enjoy playing, then in a way you're unstoppable, right? Because failure can stop you because it fills demotivation in your heart. Success is often more dangerous because it fills pride in your head, right? You'll find so many guys who are one-hit wonders. One book or one movie is a hit, and then they destroy their entire lives. They can't handle their success. But if you're detached from success or failure, and you just enjoy the game, right? Try your best, play your best game, right?
It's more about the journey.
Exactly. Play the game. That's what I thought I'll do with my books. At least try it out. Yeah? What's the worst that can happen? It would have flopped. Okay, you must. But the key thing is find a game that you enjoy playing. If you're forcing yourself to do something that you don't enjoy, then there's no point.
Right.
Find a game that you enjoy playing.
Right.
It could be even life insurance, man. It doesn't matter. Some people just want to achieve things and become a CEO. That's fair. Find the game you enjoy and then play it.
So also since then you have published so many books. If I'm not counting it wrong, almost 10 books of yours are out. All of them have been such massive success. You were first working in a corporate job, and then you went ahead to be a full-time author. You got into various cultural work as well. So was there any particular moment when you thought that this is when I have to leave my corporate job and I want to do this full-time? Or was it a process and it just happened? How was that transition, or when did you feel that this is something that is to be happened?
Kinjal, the answer will probably sound very boring to you. I'll apologize in advance for that. But I decided to leave my job when my royalty check became more than my salary. Right? It might sound like a very boring decision. I call it a pragmatic decision. I don't come from a wealthy family background. बाप दादा का आशीर्वाद है, जायदाद कुछ नहीं है. So the way I see it, in your life, you should let your heart decide the destination, but use your mind to plot the journey, right? So yeah, I enjoyed writing, but if I had jumped, and resigned my job, and if my writing wasn't earning enough, how would I pay my bills? And then what's a dream would have become a nightmare. So I wrote my first 2 books along with my job. Only when my royalty check became more than my salary, I resigned at that time. So you shouldn't swing on either extreme. You need to listen to your heart, but you need to listen to your mind as well, because there are pragmatic realities of life. You need to pay the bills at the end of the month. You can't tell your kid ki, beta starve karo because daddy is discovering himself. That's irresponsible.
So also along the way, as you kept writing these many books, did you ever face writer's block? Sometimes it happens, you get a brain fog, you don't know, you sit with your laptop on, but things don't come to you. Have you ever faced this writer's block? If yes, then how do you overcome? What are the things that you choose to do?
Only once in my life. Otherwise, I'm kind of lucky. I've written 10 relatively long books in 12 years. And one can't write at this pace if you're facing writer's block regularly. There was only once I'd faced writer's blocks. Last 7-8 years have been difficult for me in my personal life. Career has, the gods have been very kind on my career. One success after another, things have been going better. But personal life, I faced a lot of tragedies. I've lost people very dear to me, some in very tragic ways. So there was this one time when I was particularly disturbed. This was when I was writing Ravan. And so yeah, for a few months, even the books, and I thought it couldn't get worse. I mean, if everything around my personal life is collapsing and now even the books stop coming, what the hell am I going to do? But for 2-3 months, yeah, nothing was coming. I was in a very negative frame of mind. Music helped. One particular song, it helped. It just turned the key. This was my brother and I, we were watching TV, and my twin brother Ashish and I, how men are when we are not in a good frame of mind. We just, watching TV randomly, just surfing. We don't like to think.
Socialize.
Don't want to mix with anyone. We're just randomly surfing. We weren't even watching anything. There was some song which came up. I stopped Ashish. Stop. There's a song. I downloaded it on Shazam. I hadn't recalled hearing it before that. I went down for a walk in the evening and I pressed the playlist. And if you don't select any playlist in my Amazon app, then the last song you downloaded starts. And then that song started and I started crying, and I was kind of walking continuously for an hour and a half, crying continuously. And then like the next 3-4 chapters of Ravan just got downloaded in a flood. It was just the first maybe 10 seconds of that song, Jhoka Hawa Ka. It's from an old movie, Ajay Devgan, Salman Khan movie. So just the first few bars, that part, that's I was listening to just that part repeatedly.
We are glad that it helped you because we wanted you to be back. That is
It
that
didn't
is
help my life, but it helped my writing.
so. Coming to your writing part, how you, as you said, last 12 years you wrote 10 books, so many things have been happening in your life, personal life, career wise, everything. How do you plan your writing? Like, do you maintain a fixed schedule? You have fixed strict hours that you follow, that this is the time where I have to sit down and write? For example, even if it is coming intuitively to you, and you're occupied with something else, what is the process
Then
that
one
you
can't write. Look, I'm basically I am a disciplined guy, so I'm a relatively boring guy. I'm normally asleep by 10:30. I'm uh, normally up by 5:30. In London, because of my job, I'm a diplomat as well. I'm forced to
yes.
socialize. Otherwise, in India, I didn't really socialize that much. You won't find any pictures of me at pastry parties or anything because I didn't go to any of them. But in London, I'm a diplomat, so I'm forced to socialize a lot more, part of my job. But I normally work in the mornings. Uh, I'm at my most productive early in the mornings. That's when I write my books.
Okay.
And I'm a workaholic. I work 7 days a week. So, and I practically do three jobs: my diplomatic job, writing, and I host documentaries as well.
Wow,
Uh,
that is
so
a
I did
packed schedule.
something for Discovery TV last year, two
Yes.
documentaries for Discovery TV last year. But writing, I tend to take a writing break, and for 2 weeks, start in the morning and write till the words flow,
Wow,
and then
okay.
go back to normal life, and then take a writing break once again.
That is, that sounds very nice, but I'm sure it might be very hectic, like balancing
Yeah,
all of these things
I'm a workaholic, so it's no problem for me.
saves the day. Okay, for a different perspective, while doing your research, do you consider reading or taking references from different versions of epics, or do you prefer sticking to one, understanding it thoroughly, reading between the lines?
I read a lot. I read around 5-6 books per month. I've been reading at that pace for decades.
Oh,
So,
okay.
um, so of course, I am aware of, either I've read or I've been told various versions of the Ramayana, many of the Puranas, Mahabharata. Of course, I'm aware of them, and that goes in as research into my books. But I also read, you know, pure history books. I read science journals. I travel a great deal.
Right.
Travel is also, in a way, a learning experience, and all that goes into my books. Remember, among the challenges of the kind of books I write is that one has to build the world for the reader as well. So if you're writing something in the modern day, say you're writing, love story in the modern day, um, you don't have to build the world. You can just say a couple walked into a coffee shop, right? Uh,
Right.
and you as a reader immediately know, right? You know what the
The
coffee shop, there'll be
surroundings.
music,
Right.
there'll be youngsters out there, overpriced coffee, all that. You know all that. You can jump.
Right. Um,
That is not the way it works, in my books, because in my books, I need to build the entire scene. So if there's someone throwing a spear,
right.
I would probably read maybe 10, 20 pages uh, to explain that one paragraph to you. That how do you stand? What's the center of
Right.
gravity of the spear? What's the grip like? What are the different grips? Should you run and throw, or should you stand and throw? How do you twist your body? Now, I might read 10, 15 pages, but I have to summarize it for you in just a short paragraph
Paragraph.
where it should not appear boring for you, right? But I still have to build the world, because you don't know. If you're
Right.
traveling in a ship, a ship 4,000 years ago was a very different beast from today's ship. So it's not just epics and texts. I actually read a lot. I do a lot of research. For every page that I write, I probably read around 100 pages.
Wow. Like you have to build an entire world, an entire scenario from the
Yeah,
scratch. So
yeah.
that is, yes.
Because I have to read that much.
Yes, right. Wow, okay. So we put out a story on our Instagram page where we asked our followers to drop in a question on what they would want to ask you if they get a chance. And this was one question which we got multiple times. Here it goes. The question is, after Ramayana, is there any possibility of a Mahabharata series too? If so, which character would you want to focus on?
Um, I have an interpretation of the Mahabharata in mind, and I hope to write that as well. Lord Shiva's blessings. Uh, uh, it will be kind of an ensemble. It won't be like the Ramchandra series. It will be a bit like the Shiva Trilogy.
Okay.
So it won't have independent books for
Understood.
the characters. This thing.
Okay.
You should wait for the
Okay.
Mahabharata. But I have my interpretation of the Mahabharata.
Okay.
Which I
already
do
can't wait
intend
to read that one. Super excited again. Brilliant. Okay. So before we sign off, okay, here are a few quick questions to understand your choice of reading. So you are a reader yourself. So here are 4 to 5 questions as a rapid fire round. Which were the last 3 books which you read recently?
I have been reading a lot of Niall Ferguson actually recently. Niall Ferguson is a British historian, brilliant scholar. I might not necessarily agree with everything that he says, but I always believe you should try and read those you disagree with, because that's what
Right.
helps your mind grow. So his book Empire, Doom, and The Square and the Tower. I'd recommend all 3 books. Very good book.
Wow. Okay. Next question is: do you remember your first book that you read? Which one was it?
I should also add
Huh.
one more book, Sanjeev Sanyal's Revolutionaries, is just come out. So
Yes,
I'd read the
yes.
pre-release copy of that. Brilliant book and a completely ignored part of our independence struggle. Must read that too.
Thank you so much for these recommendations. Coming to the next question, do you remember the first book which you read? Which book was it, and how did it go for you? Was
It
that
was an
book?
Amar Chitra Katha. It was an Amar Chitra Katha comic.
Wow. Okay.
And if I remember correctly, it was on Samudragupta, which was much richer than what had been taught to us in our history books. Our history books are very poorly written. They are cures for insomnia. Our establishment historians need some training in how to write. That's why I like Sanjeev Sanyal's books, because he makes history interesting.
Right. Yes. You already gave us few recommendations, but again, last one. Which 5 books would top your book recommendations list to a totally new beginner who isn't a reader, but you would say these are the books which you should consider reading?
Totally new beginner.
Yes.
I mean, there are 10 books of mine. Pick any 5.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
No such thing as too much marketing.
Never, never, ever. But yes, of course.
Thank you. Thanks, Ninja. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Amish, for joining us,
Okay.
giving us your time. Absolutely a pleasure.